August 21st when you're seeing this, but we're actually taping this a little bit early for full disclosure. But you guys have been asking, and we've been able to connect and work it out. And it's my humble pleasure to introduce and welcome Michael Yon to the show here today. Michael, thank you so much for finding some time to join us from all the way around the other side of the planet. So it's been a little bit of a struggle to get you on here, but the folks have been asking to hear from you. I know that you've got some insights that nobody else has, and I think it was divine timing that we managed to get a chance to have a chat.
Oh, thank you for having me on. I'm in Bangkok now. I just got in from Japan recently, and before that, I was over in Canada. And so, yeah.
We were just talking about that, but I want to start out with, first of all, thanking you for your service. You have had probably the most unusual life of service to your country and humanity of anybody that I've ever heard tell stories to, and I encourage everybody to follow your work. They can find you on Twitter, on X. I'll pull that up for folks here just to set things out from the beginning as to where folks can find you and get familiar with some of the stuff that you are doing, and keeping in touch, because Michael, you're on the front line of the discussion. So this is your X page where people can follow you, and I'll make sure that the link is in the chat here. But you've been following and giving, insights into some of the craziest insanity in the world for a very, very long time now. And I was, when I first heard you speak was a couple of weeks ago on a space with a friend of the channel here, Jim Ferguson. You were speaking to some of the things that you noticed with the Trump assassination, and this was, I think, just days afterwards. But I want to start with that, just to get that out of the way a little bit. How do you see that event now, a month later, versus when I first heard you speaking about it right directly after? How much more insights do you have now? What do you think folks need to know or think about when having a discussion about that event? I mean, to me, I'm stunned that it's not still in the news at all, but I think that should still be a front and center story. What do you think is going on with all of that?
Well, it was curious, that's for sure. And what's interesting is that information war is something I study. I've written 3 books on information war that are, unfortunately, they're only published in Japan, because I wrote them for Japanese about Chinese Communist Party information wars. But it's something I watch very closely. Is information war. And where I'm getting to with this is information war is the highest form of warfare, right? That's why we have no borders. The reason the reason when you can drive down a Canadian highway and smell dope like it's in your car with you, and that they're growing it in greenhouses right beside the road, that's information war, right? I mean, that makes people think, hey, it's cool to stay high all the time while we're being invaded, right? It's like, So I'm saying that to set the table for what I'm about to say next. The idea that something is staged, normally that's kind of a neutral word, right? Staged, that was staged, right? And so for about the first maybe week, when I was saying it was staged, there was no pushback at all. Maybe within about a week, but suddenly, boom, super Trump supporters would go. And by the way, I'm hardcore American. I'm not lefty or anything at all, but I don't like Trump. I've never trusted him, and I never, ever will. Right. So I'm going somewhere with that, is that, despite all that, his crew is always reaching out to me for information, and I just give it to him freely, but the point is that the word staged, there had no valence to it up until maybe about a week after the shooting. And then it became very emotional to say it was staged. And then I had to start saying, hold on, the word staged means it was clearly staged. I mean, you agreed, just a day ago that it was staged so that the cameras could catch him getting shot, right? Like the New York Times photographer there with the shutter speed on 1/8,000th of a second and all that stuff, right? And it just, but as soon as somehow somebody made that word off limits, right? Because that meant something else. And I don't even know what it meant suddenly, other than if I say it, boom, people are going to start throwing rocks at you, right? And so the fact is, it was clearly staged. The question is, what was it staged for? Was it staged for him to die or for him to live, right? Was it staged for him to be shot and killed, or was it staged for him to New York Times to catch the bullet trace, which, having done probably more combat photography than anybody alive, you know what I mean? I've never seen a bullet trace caught like that. It's like, and anyway, could have been done, whatever. But by the way, I've got the exact, the camera that photographer was using. That's that one right there on that tripod. That's the one I use, right? That's one of the ones I use. And I use its little brother, this one right here, right? I mean, I know how to use a camera. I'm very familiar with cameras and weapons, right? I was a special forces weapons guy too, right? And so I'm super familiar with both, right? And so when I saw that bullet trace, I'm like, and you see the fist pump and all this, the Iwo Jima moment. And I'm like, something doesn't feel right. Now, again, that's not evidence. Now, I'm just saying it was clearly staged. What was it staged for? Now, people immediately go, are you saying, or actually often they'll say, you're saying, which never say that. It makes people look bad when they say you're saying. If you go, you think, and I'm like, if you knew what I was thinking, you would never say that. As soon as you tell me what I think, I'm thinking you're not very smart because you don't know what I'm thinking. And so they'll say, you think that, or whatever, that Trump would sit here and let somebody shoot his ear. I said, I never said that. That's what you said. Now, let me tell you what, having been in a shit ton of sniper operations, outgoing and incoming, where our guys were getting hit right around me, dead. And I've been right there with Americans and British outgoing where we're killing people. I've been right there, both sides, many, many times, right? I'm extremely familiar with this. I'm quite comfortable with the rifle in my hand as well. I know that you can set that up easily so that the round will miss him by like 10, 15 feet, right? But the acoustics will be just right. I've had so many bullets go by my ears, not that close. I never had, but my question was, did a bullet really hit his ear? I do not know. There was red stuff, right? Or was it all staged? I do not know. Now, people, even very smart ones, will go, of course, no, we're not even looking at that. Of course, he got hit in the ear. I'm like, where's your proof? Red stuff? I mean, I don't get it. So anyway, bottom line, I can go past that and stop beating the dead horse. But I don't know what happened. Something was clearly wrong. And now suddenly it's out of the news.
Yeah, it's a couple things you mentioned there. It kind of like makes me feel a little bit like a kindred spirit, although nowhere to near the extent of experience that you have. But I did some military training. I was trained as a shooter here in Canada. In my youth, I haven't used any of those things. I've never been in combat, but I also consider myself a bit of a war correspondent in the capacity that Canada is at war, in an information war, and we are, kind of some of the gray zone of all of that. So for me, when that event took place, there was a couple of things. I 100% agree. The whole thing was staged. To whose side, whose benefit, who did it? I don't know yet, but for me, there was immediate questions right out of the chute. For me, the trigger that the way it was staged is, I don't care, even the most incompetent trainee that I trained, if they had 42 seconds to hit their target, they would have hit their target at least once. So for me, that 42-second window that he had opportunity before he was, taken out or disposed of, whichever way you want to put it, that to me was the first glaring red flag, that 42 seconds. But
can I say something else on that? I mean,
for
you're
sure.
saying something important. and you see this tripod back here. As you know, as you said, if you've done sniper training,
Yep.
you'll know sometimes they shoot from a tripod, just like the
Yep.
Secret Service was doing on the, and also are shooting from a vise, even, right? As I'm sure you've seen the vices and shot them. Once you put the vise in there, it's just really just pull the trigger. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so I mean, the idea that they would let a round fly 10 or 15 feet away, let's say, and and just to get the acoustic, I don't know. I just don't know. But people say, well, if we go by Occam's razor, he clearly got hit in the ear. I'm like, if we go by Occam's razor, it fits even more closely that it was staged for him to do the Iwo Jima moment. I don't know, right? I just don't know. And and so, but the bottom line is it will remain a mystery. But I've noticed that people are like, look how courageous Trump was. He was, and then when I say, well, it could have been staged insofar as letting one snap right near him, like 10 or 15 feet away, which is like 10 miles away for a good sniper with a rifle and a vise. You know what I mean? I mean, that's a very safe miss. And I've had quite a few people go, he would never do that. He didn't have the guts to do that. And I'm like, you just said he had super guts. You just said that like 2 minutes ago, but suddenly now he's a coward, right? I don't know, man. I have no idea what happened. But go ahead,
you were the first one to mention, and that this was my first response when that happened. Is that son of a bitch is deaf for at least a week now.
I've had bullets go really close, and not that close, but they make your ear ring a little bit. Well, I'm not talking about because the rifle's close. I'm talking about snap. It goes really fast. You can see some of my videos where bullets are snapping by and picking up on my microphone. Some of my combat videos, machine gun bullets and rifle bullets and that sort of thing. But yeah, if it comes really close, it will make your ear ring. So it made me wonder if it hit him that close, I think he would need to be talking to an audiologist. I mean, and right afterwards, so a good friend of mine sent me a video of Melania whispering to him in that ear. I'm like, I just don't believe he got hit that close with a supersonic rifle bullet and not messing up his eardrum there for a while. His hearing.
Yeah, that was the first thing that made me go, huh? Wait a minute. I mean, like I said, I was never in combat, but up here in Canada, they do it, old school, where we're down in the butts and we're still pulling targets, and there's a backstop that glistens in the daylight, and you're forever getting ricochets and things like that. And I'll tell you what, when one of those goes by your head, you notice it and you don't forget it for the next hour, even if it's only a couple of feet away. So for me,
that's good that you did targets like that. So now you get it, right?
You
totally get it. So this idea that it's like he gets hit in the ear. If not, I think it would make him off balance. I'm just guessing.
That's the other thing.
I don't know. I'm not an ear
the questions that I have, and there were so few people that I could actually speak to that would have, an understanding to even have a conversation with that. So that was something that I was eager to address with you, because I was thinking, am I the only crazy one that thinks like this? Because everybody thinking I'm crazy when I try to talk about it, from those points. Not to determine anything. I'm not saying anything, but I have questions. I have more questions about this than I do about JFK's, successful assassination. But
we're talking about people that can make movies. You know what I mean? Like, $100 million movies. You think they can't stage a little scene here? And then people go, are you saying they would stage a scene where somebody got killed? I'm saying they just jabbed over 1 billion people, and people are dying every second of the day from their death jabs. You think they won't kill somebody for a movie set? You damn skippy, they will. You know what I mean? They will absolutely do that for a movie set. I mean, they'll kill 100,000 people for a movie set. Look at October 7th in Israel. That was a clear green flag attack, obvious green flag attack. Green flag meaning the Israelis clearly allowed Hamas to do that and clearly facilitated Hamas to allow them to do that. That's so freaking obvious. It's like embarrassing to have to say it. I mean, serious combat vets can see it. I mean, it takes 4 minutes to get a cold Black Hawk off the ground helicopter, right? They go 180 knots. I've been on a lot of QRFs, quick reaction force, right? When contact starts and, boom, everybody launches and goes out and that sort of thing. They should have been in combat, I don't know, max 20 minutes or so. Israel's not that big. 25, 30 minutes. It took them an entire McDonald's shift, like about 8 hours for their QRF, for their people to start getting into combat. And then I've said that before, and people are like, are you saying they would just rush out there with no plan? You don't know anything about the military. I'm like, let me tell you what, as you say that, yes, I was a Green Beret, and yes, I spent years in combat. I know a thing or two about it. Guess what? This is what you do when something like that happens. You get your ass over there, and you find out who's shooting, and you start shooting at them, and you get them to shoot at you, and you kill them, and you kill them. If you lose some guys, we got some guys killed. If a helicopter gets shot down, bring another one. We're here to fight. We're not here to play. We're not here to make a sand table. They're killing our people. We're going to light them up, right? And we may lose people doing it. We're soldiers. We don't play, right? We're here to kill you, right? And that's how you do it. That's how real soldiers do it. That's how special operations does it. We're not going to sit here and let you massacre our people for 8 hours. As soon as we find out where you're shooting at, we're going to come right in there and we're going to come right on your ass, right? And yet it took them an entire McDonald's shift. It's clear setup so that they could clear Gaza. You can't say that. They're the magical elves. They're the Jews. I'm like, listen, I grew up big supporter of Israel for many years. And tell you what, those days are over. I see what they're doing. You know what I mean? They're clearly trying to draw the United States in to attack Iran at this point. Our military is broke, filled with people that can't even tie their boots. You know what I mean? Ships run into each other in the U.S. Navy. We can't even knock out the Houthis, who are not even they're just a bunch of ragtag guerrillas, man. They've practically closed the Suez Canal, the Red Sea. What are you going to do against the Iranians, who are far more powerful than the Iraqis were, and multiples more powerful than the Afghans were, right? I spent 2 years in the Iraq War. I spent 2 years in the Afghan War, and those guys will be nothing compared to the Iranians. I mean, seriously, they don't. The Israelis are working so hard to get us to fight their wars. They are not our friend. They're not our ally. And they're working hard to send Palestinians to Canada, right? They're working very hard to do that. And one of the organizations that does this is called HIAS.org, Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society. I see them all the time. I'm out with them, right? They're bringing them through the Darien Gap. I was the first to report it several years ago. HIAS has been around decades, long time, many decades. But that money is coming. Go to HIAS.org. Look at some of the donors. I mean, it's huge money. They're making massive money, invading Canada, invading Europe, invading the United States, and there's many other organizations doing it. But HIAS is one of them, and I've published it. Others have published it, and yet here they go. They continue to invade us.
You've dropped about 8 big bombs in there that I really want to address with you here, and one of them is just to highlight on that. You mentioned it, and I would put this down to differences in doctrine. Military doctrine is very different in the United States, even versus Canada versus any of the others, what you described there, with the green flag event, I don't think people understand how those kinds of things work. And the reason I'm bringing this up is I think this is what Kursk is right now in Russia and Ukraine. I don't think that this is, the genius of Ukraine that has done this. I think that this was literally a bait to create a kill box, and they're going to wipe out that little region, and they have depleted forces from an already strained region, and now they're walking in everywhere else. So I think that there's a whole lot of shenanigans that go on in these conflicts, and people misunderstand or misinterpret them. And doctrine is where that comes in. The Russians, they love to do that. Come on in, boys. We'll just close the door behind you and wipe you all out. So I think that we're seeing kind of like Ukraine's battle of the bulge, shall we say, their last gasp effort to try and drive some sort of discussion for political leverage. And I don't think that that's going to work at all at the end of it. But there's so much going on there in all of those things, and I think that Ukraine fiasco is why we're seeing these guys escalate in the Middle East. And a big important point there. The military doctrines of our nations, the leadership of our nations, I believe, have genuinely been captured. The Canadian people are not represented by the government of Canada. I don't think the American people are represented by the American government, and I don't think the Israeli or Jewish people are represented by the government that is doing all of these things either. And I think that
They're not.
they've been playing a very dangerous game.
Can you stop on that? That's important.
Sure.
That's very important. Canadian government clearly doesn't represent Canadians, and nor does ours us. And the Zionist government of Israel, I work with Jews 7 days a week. I mean, one of my closest research partners is full blown Jewish. I mean, we talk every single day, right? And I tell you what, there's nobody that hates the Zionist government of Israel more than authentic Jews. I mean, They hate each other. They hate each other. Like the Zionists, many of them are atheists, right? They're not. This is not what a lot of people think it is. I mean, this is a political party like Democrats or Republicans or something like that, right? Social Democratic Party or whatever. It's Zionist is a political party, but they always try to cloak themselves in Judaism, and it drives Jews crazy, especially like American Jews who see themselves as American and who are American veterans who died died fighting wars for the United States, or served very courageously, as one of my major research partners has. He's alive, obviously, but he fought in the Iraq War and that sort of thing. And I mean, and he's full hardcore Jew. You know what I mean? He doesn't trust the Zionists at all, and all they do is use Jews. They use them as a scapegoat. A scapegoat tactic is where you put the goat out so the tiger can get it. But that's what happened at that rave party on October 7th. They used that party as a staked goat. So that, here they go. The Hamas was clearly green flagged to come in there, and they did the attack, killed huge numbers of people, and the Israelis killed a bunch of them with their own firepower of their own people. And now they've got casus belli to genocide Gaza, and which they're doing. And now you got to see, for the overarching picture, there's a lot of energy off the coast. They want that real estate, of course. And in fact, the Zionists want the Suez Canal, and they may want to build that Ben Gurion Canal and many other things. They want a much larger, greater Israel, as they call it, and they're working on it. And all these things like Ukraine, this is not separate. This is all part of a larger ecosystem of elements that are unfolding.
And that's where I was kind of heading towards this, and that brings up, you brought up another important point there, understanding and being able to articulate the difference between Zionism, the political, faction, and understanding the difference. We get caught up in, if we don't, and like your X profile says, words are atoms of the information war. Choose the right elements. We do ourselves a disservice because we haven't yet figured out how to navigate the discussion, because we don't fully understand the different, I guess, faces of what is presented as Judea or Israel. They are not the same, and every culture has horrible people in it. Every nation has horrible people in it, and I think this is the thing that we need to understand, and to get the right language for that, and I'm talking John Q. Public in this, is that all of our nations have been captured by very, very bad people that wear the same outward facing costume as everybody else. And these are the people that are leading us down to what could potentially be, the end of the species on the planet, if these guys are allowed to continue to play these stupid games and win these stupid prizes. But now to get to the other side of that, where you, as you said, they're all interconnected, and that's exactly how I see this as well. And this is my hypothesis on how this is working. And what makes me the most afraid is that we all know that the bad people in America have been waging a proxy war on Russia for a very long time. And why on earth would we think for a second that those people would not take the opportunity to do the same thing back to America? America is, in my opinion, given the scope of COVID's damage that they've created, I think our militaries have been neutered by design and intent, and they are in a very vulnerable position. We're seeing what's happening in the Ukraine, and I some of us are seeing that, I suppose, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, but in my opinion, the entire collective West, everything they've been able to muster through NATO and throw at Russia has been, like, feeding, toys into the meat grinder. Collectively, they don't stand a chance of winning that conflict. What on earth makes them think that a Russian and Chinese backed Iran and Houthis and all of these Middle East nations are not going to turn the US carrier fleet into a submarine fleet and absolutely be done with the Middle East at some point if we don't get a grip on the bad apples in our own establishments? So this is what I'm afraid of this escalating to. And as you said, you can't take out the Houthis even. What are they going to do with Iran, backed by Russian and Chinese munitions? I think this is the scariest place on earth, that we got no business sticking our noses in there. If Israel wants to go and commit suicide because of stupidity, sorry, that's your bed to lie in. This is just how I'm kind of seeing this.
I'm seeing the same. Let them roll. Have fun. I mean, they've been fighting each other for about 3,000 years. Have fun. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not my war. And everybody keeps trying to persuade me it's not working, that it is, and that I should give a kidney for Israel. Why? They steal everything from us, secrets and everything else, sell them to China and everything else. They're selling weapons to Azerbaijan, which is being used to genocide Christians in Armenia. I went over to Armenia about a year and a half or so ago in Georgia, looking at things. You can see the Armenians are like, why is Israel selling weapons to the Muslims who are killing us and taking our land for money? I mean, and straight up, and they don't care. And they say it. You can see there's newspapers articles about it. When the Israelis are saying it, straight up, diplomatically. Well, it's just business. Well, it's just business. Okay, it's just business. Have fun. You're outnumbered over there. We don't need them, right? And the day will come when the United States will turn its back on Israel, because our demographics are changing. Not necessarily even turn its back, but turn its back and then actually turn its teeth, because they are one of the ones helping to invade the United States. I mean, Zionists. I say they, not Israel, not Jews. Well, some Jews definitely, but and many Christians as well. But but they are, the Zionists are setting conditions weirdly to destroy their Israel. But they've always, they meaning the Zionists, have always been willing to sacrifice a lot of Jews to promote the interest of Zionists, right? They've always been willing, because then they'll throw the Jews, and they brainwash the sort of people that I grew up with, which is the really good Americans who want to defend the Jewish people, because they, as I was taught growing up, there are really close allies and close relations and close everything, and we should defend them. Then as I get older, I'm like, wait a minute, there's different things going on here. What are these Zionist people that we never talked about? And then over a period of time, you become more educated, and then you go, that's enough. That is not the Israel in the Bible.
And that's the same for me. When I was going through the learning curve about what Bolshevism was, and what happened to Russia. Russia was the biggest Christian country on the planet until the Bolsheviks got a hold of it, right? In these cultural changes, these demographic changes, those happen before our reality catches up. We're taught all of these things, good, bad, what's evil and what's not. But then, as time goes by, we realize that what we're taught and told is so different from reality, and people, they want to cling to, their safe zone of what they've been taught. And that's, to me, these, in this day and age, is, like, suicidally naive. At this point,
It is.
the people that are doing these things, they don't have a faith allegiance, they don't have a national allegiance, they have a superiority god complex. These are raging narcissistic psychopaths, and they don't care about sacrifice. And if they if they wipe out a bunch of their own people, well, victimhood pays well, it plays well, it's good photo ops, it's all of those kinds of things to maintain the informational war narrative. And this is the danger zone, that we're not we're not allowed to question anything. And this is putting us in a position, I think, where we're probably going to be left with fighting the crusades on our own streets and our own backyards, because of the development and the evolution of these things. The whole Alice in Wonderland thing. People think the United Nations is good. They don't have a clue that it's actually run by the OIC. It is run by political Islam, and they're the largest voting bloc in the United Nations. So this is how we end up with people like Tedros as the head of the WHO, and Nigeria as the head of the Human Rights Commission. Like, in what sane world does this kind of stuff happen? And then why is it that we are adopting all of these policies? And
Yep.
here in Canada, it's becoming particularly evident. A half a step behind the UK. And you mentioned that you'd been up here, recently. What was your take on what you saw in Canada? You've been here before. You were here recently. What do you see as the glaring changes that or do they concern you?
Oh yeah. I mean, I can see Canada's in a very advanced stage of being destroyed, or subsumed, let's say. Likewise with Ireland. I was in Ireland a couple of years ago, and I'm getting daily briefings from Ireland, from people on the ground there, including one made a map for me of all the locations of all the actual camps, in some cases military camps of the invaders, strategic places around Dublin and other parts of Ireland, like an airport, ports, and egress, ingress from Dublin, and that sort of thing. I mean, these are military age males, the vast majority of them, and they represent, it appears, about 1/3 of the people in Ireland now are actual invaders. Most of those are military age males, right? And now, if you compare that against the actual Irish, now many of those are going to be elderly people, women, children, people that are unable to fight. So if you got 1/3 of the aliens that are there who are mostly military age males, and I've been there and seen it, it's true. And versus, I mean, they're probably roughly on parity now with Irish men. You know what I mean? The fightable males of the invaders versus the Irish, I'm going to guess directionally it's probably about parity right now. And they're coming in every day. They're coming in every day. And these are high testosterone men. I'm out with these guys all over the place. I'm out with them in Morocco. I'm out with them across Europe. I'm out with them in the Darien Gap in Mexico and Texas. I'm out with these guys a lot. These are high testosterone men. Look at this book right here. There's been books written about this stuff. Weapons of mass migration. This is an old tactic. It's an old tactic.
100%.
Yeah. And this is, in space and time, this stuff has been done, and nothing new. And it will end up in the destruction of many countries. I mean, catastrophic, non-recoverable. Demographics is your future. Irish right now, some of them are already leaving. A lot of them have already left.
Oh, a mouthful there, again, and I 100% agree. You don't have to study history too hard to see this same thing playing out over and over and over throughout history. And what we're seeing in the UK should be taken as a dire warning. UK and Ireland, and myself, I went over there in 2015, early in 2015, because I didn't believe what I was seeing on the legacy media. So I went over there and got mugged in Amsterdam.
Really?
And
What
and
time of day was it, or night, or
pardon me.
what happened during the mugging?
It was interesting because I was there with a 6'5" UFC fighter, and they started to tussle with him and got his wallet and booked it. And these were not European ethnic original men, but yeah, a mob of them started to we didn't get beat up there, but it was we were definitely starting to be concerned for our safety there. Some others came, locals came and it started to be quite a din, but they ended up getting away with his wallet. And the funny part of that was, and you're probably not going to believe this one, Michael, but once the locals found out that this was a former UFC guy that had got mugged, they actually went and got his damn wallet back.
Wow. Ah,
But it was that the point I wanted to make with this was that was all I saw was, as you said, high testosterone men that were not there to, culturally enrich or to, provide any, input back into the economy or society. That's not what they are there for. And I feel can't help but feel that this war on toxic masculinity that they've been waging over here in North America for more than a decade was softening the ground before they put in motion what we're experiencing. And I fully believe that this is all by design, and Canada is right next on that list to be experiencing what the UK and Ireland is, but this is going to create a much different problem for
mhm.
America. And this is what I've been trying to scream to my American patriots that have friends and family that have audience and reach. Do you not see that kind of problem in UK and Ireland is one thing, but that kind of problem in mass next door at the largest unguarded, unprotected border in the world, while these guys are literally shipping in sea cans full of munitions and arms and weapons for years now. I've had people reporting to me. I grew up in Alberta, lots of bush country. Hunters are afraid to go out hunting now in Canada because they are coming across large groups of angry Muslim or Islamic men, and they are fully locked and loaded with way better gear than any Canadian can legally own. This has been going on here for
Even in
years
North
now.
Alberta, because you're from North Alberta, right?
I'm from northern Alberta. This kind of stuff is going on even in southern Alberta, southwestern Alberta,
But I
in the
mean, was
mountains
it
and
going
rock
on in the north up there by the Northwest Territory border area too, or what?
everywhere, everywhere,
Wow,
Michael.
because that's very remote. I've been up there. Yeah.
The town I grew up in, the most northerly town in Alberta, about 2,500 people. We started getting a significant population of them going back to the late 90s, early 2000s. Now they literally own the entire community. And it's interesting because when, when the
Where are they from, if I can ask before you go on? Where are they from?
from Lebanon and Egypt primarily,
Egypt. Okay.
and there's Iranians there as well, but primarily
Okay.
those three. They were the first, the first pioneers in that community up there. But now they own literally the entire community. They own the whole damn town, right?
Hmm.
So this has been going on a very long time. But the part that concerns me is over the last 10 years, a million plus a year of these people that absolutely hate us coming here. And they only have designs, in my mind, to be the pincer move. To me, I feel America is sleepwalking into an ambush. They've been paying very close attention to what's going on. You guys have been, doing your best to stop the invasion at the southern border. I don't think that the northern border is a problem for invasion. Although, yes, we were discussing this just before the show too. There are lots coming through there, but I think the biggest danger are the ones that aren't coming through. They're here. They are getting fat. They are getting prepared, rested, armed, organized, collected, And now they are starting to do the dominance thing, where there's no shortage of mosques for them to pray in, but yet
Right.
they have to disrupt every major city with their calls to jihad, praying in the streets, and our police forces here are completely lost. They are
Do
like
they stop and pray
kindergarten.
in the streets?
Pardon
Sorry.
me?
Do they stop and pray in the streets?
Yes, they are literally shutting down Toronto. They're shutting down Montreal. They're shutting down Ottawa with their praying in the streets. Tens of thousands of them, my friend. That is
Mm.
not praying.
That's dominance. Yeah.
100%. You said it for me. Thank you.
Yeah.
And this, what comes next, Michael? You've seen this.
No,
What
genocide.
comes
No,
next?
you'll either become a slave, or you'll have to leave, or you'll be killed. I mean, it's one of those. I
That's
mean,
what they're.
yeah.
I had a guest on last week who was there filming and has got it on camera on her film, where they're saying, if you don't join us enthusiastically, we will slaughter you too. This is Canada today.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's no drill. This is live fire. And that's why, I always bring up this dope stuff. I was driving down the road in near Niagara, and going that direction anyway. And I smelled dope. I was with a retired Canadian Army officer and a Japanese journalist friend. She was in the back, and I said, "I smell dope." You don't smoke dope. He's like, "No, there's greenhouses on both sides of the road." I'm like, "That's unbelievable. It's the whole car smells like dope, and it's just the greenhouses." Now, people get upset when I say this. They're like, "Well, yeah, well, alcohol is a drug too," and da da da. I got it. I got it. I thought through all that when I was like 14, so there's no need to go through it again, right? So, but I mean, we get it. But the bottom line is, drugs are a huge part of the war, right? A huge part. Chinese, if you read the book Unrestricted Warfare, written by two Chinese Army colonels, if you read about the 24 warfares, the 24 different types, they don't call them 24 warfares, but when you read it, 24 are listed, right? One of them is drug warfare, and other information war is the highest form, of course. But with the drug warfare is one of the most effective, and it's been used through instantly. People go, well, the Chinese, I already know what they're going to say. When I say the Chinese, people that are listening to this can tell me if I'm accurate with what just goes through your head when I say the Chinese are using drugs in a war against the West. Now, if you thought, well, the British did it to the Chinese, so we have it coming, right? So that's probably what went through a lot of people's minds. That's called information war. That was implanted in your brain, right? It was implanted long in advance to go, well, you got to pass. It happened to you. And by the way, professional victims are always professional victimizers, period. Like Zionists, Jew card, when they're not even Jews, most of them, a lot of them, right? They're always throwing the victim card, right? Chinese do the same thing. But the Chinese have used drug warfare all over the place, including here in Thailand, right? And drug warfare is very effective because you can do multiple things at once. For instance, many of the Chinese who are coming through the Darien Gap, which I intercept them constantly physically and talk with them, they're going up to Maine. They're going up to Washington State and Oregon and California, Oklahoma. They're growing huge amounts of dope. They use that for profits to bring more Chinese in, while our young men are all doped up and talking about, I got my freedom, man. Get out of here, man. I'm tired of hearing it. You're not so, yeah, but I can see stuff. I got enlightenment. No, you're not. You're just stupid. You're a doper, and dopers always say that. We're being invaded by high testosterone men that will chop your head off and kick it down the road like a soccer ball. Guess what? I've seen it. I've been to these wars. They don't play. These are very serious people. Meanwhile, we've got a bunch, like Joe Rogan. I'm probably the only person on earth that flatly turned down, I'm not going on Joe Rogan, right? Alex Jones said, I can get you on a show, probably introduce you. I'm like, I'm not going on, Alex. I'm not going on a Doper Joe show, right? I'm not going to go on a show which clearly is promoting our young people, millions of them, to smoke dope, right? While we're being invaded. And the people that are invading are the ones making the dope. We have thousands of people dying per week from fentanyl, per week. That doesn't include the people that are, when you go to places like San Francisco Los Angeles, and I go to all of them. I've been all over my country in the last 4 years since I returned. And it's just unbelievable devastation, right? It's actually quite sickening. They're profiting off destroying us, right? And meanwhile, we've got young people talking about my freedom. You're going to die, right? And I mean that with full seriousness. You will either die or you will become a slave, or maybe you'll run off and live in the woods until you die, because this is not going to play out. This is not going to, you having 3 months worth of food and 2,000 rounds and a big old AR-15. That doesn't mean jack shit. That's like defending yourself with a lollipop, right? They will come and take that rifle and take your house, right? It doesn't matter. I don't care if you go to the range 5 times a week. It doesn't matter. You're going to be outnumbered. You got to go to get gas. You got to get food. You got to do this. They're overrunning our communities. Meanwhile, you got clowns like Joe Rogan getting literally drunk on his show, literally drunk, stone cold, drunk and high. And people are like, yeah, people get angry. Why did you refuse going on shows like that? You're turning down this audience. And I'm like, hey, listen.
That's not a responsible audience,
Again,
a responsible podcast.
But it's like, again, I get it. They act like you can't do the math, but only a doper can come up with that in their head. Go, well, if you don't go on Joe Rogan, the world's going to collapse. No, here's what I'm telling you. I've told tens of millions of people, and it has worked. Many people have stopped listening to Joe Rogan, right? Stop listening to clowns who get drunk on their shows. Stop listening to people that are drinking whiskey and smoking dope and talking about let's go do some mushrooms and we can see pretty flowers, while men with guns are coming across the border and they're taking your country. It's time for men to do man stuff, right? It's time for men to be men, right? There are no good men who do nothing. This is it. You either stand now or you will perish. That simple. Maybe you can run off to some other country. Most people can't do that, period. Very few can do that. I can do that. That's no problem for me because I've been all over the world. I got friends in dozens of countries, right? But I go back to America to defend it. I spend most of my time in America these days. I happen to be here now, but I'll be back soon, right? It's time for people to defend their countries, whether that be Canada, United States, Mexico as well, Panama. I mean, I'm down in Panama all the time, because that's a main invasion route. Colombia, men, it's time to do man stuff. Everybody wants to be a hero until it's time to do hero stuff. It's time to do hero stuff, right?
Everybody wants to be a hero when they're sitting in their mom's basement, wasted out of their mind, playing Call of Duty and calling them, thinking that they're all that in a bag of chips. So it might surprise you, it might not, to know one of the first things Trudeau did when he came into power was to legalize the dope. Now it's gotten to the point where it is easier to access meth, heroin, cocaine, or fentanyl than it is to access ivermectin or a doctor in Canada. And they're ramping up what they're calling safe injection sites, which is killing more people.
To death with your maid.
Oh, that's a whole that's something that's a personal. It personally infuriates me to no end, and I'm gonna just. I don't want to get into that field because there's some other questions. I don't want to be respectful of your time, but that is the third leading cause of early death in Canada is murder by the state.
Straight up, the MAID program, medical assistance in dying. Medical assistance
is the third leading cause of early death in Canada right now, and they intend to expand on that exponentially to include youths and deaths of despair. We've literally got kids offing themselves because they've got acne and can't get a girlfriend. Michael, this is the depths of it in Canada, and our health. The guy in charge of that, a guy named Mark Holland, is pissed off because he cannot get doctors and participants to take part in this. So he is hindered from expanding the program even more so until he gets more people that are willing to murder Canadians. So they're trying to remove the red tape to bring in 13 or 15,000 more medical personnel that will be willing to, off Canadians with a lethal injection. This is where Canada is basically at right now. So you want to talk about softening up a target nation. I think that this is I don't know how much softer Canada could be made for the invasion that is coming in. And you touched on this earlier. We're getting another 5,000 from Gaza, and another bunch from Nigeria was just mentioned. Tens of thousands that they're importing, giving immediate citizenship. They've lost 500,000 of them, and it's interesting because these other nations are dumping out their penal systems into Canada, and Canadians are paying for it. This obsession with our government with replacing us with that demographic. Case in point, out of spite, when this is not an endorsement for Trump, but Trump did label Hamas as a terrorist organization, and Justin Trudeau's response to that was, "Let's send them $50 million more because now they can't raise funds in America." He still funds UNRWA. He still funds these Palestinian organizations, and now these people are at the point where I'll be surprised if we are not seeing, as you said, heads rolling, being kicked down the street. We're only one pandemic or one lockdown away from this kind of stuff starting to happen, and these people, these high testosterone males, are not coming here and living in mom's basement wasted out of their freaking minds. And this is the danger zone that I see Canada developing to be. And we can talk about Canadian problems all day long, but at the end of the day, here's how I see it. If America doesn't get their shit together, Canada's gone anyway. So I don't want, I'm not looking at America to save Canada. But if America can save itself, we can do the same here. If we haven't got America to backstop us, we're running out of runway. We cannot retreat any further. And as you said, these people that think that they can go out and with their AR-15 or whatever collection they think that they might have that might protect them, it's only a matter of time. To these guys, that's going to be like the English hunting foxes. You're going to be a sport for them. You're not going to be defending yourself. You're going to be a sport for these people if we don't do something about this right now.
Yeah. Once you lose the critical mass, you lost the initiative. You don't have to wipe everybody out. You just have to have the initiative, and enough people that are on the attack, and then the defender, once he's lost a sufficient number of people, will just lose, right? It just becomes a matter of math at some point. Like the Irish already. I think realistically, knowing what I know about Ireland, if my perceptions are accurate and my information is accurate, I think realistically Ireland's already gone. It's just a matter at this point of the doing. But you never know, because wars are highly unpredictable. One thing about wars, they are unpredictable, and they do have some parts that are predictable. One of the predictable things about wars is wars grow. That's highly predictable. Wars grow. And another predictable thing is that they grow unpredictably. They grow very unpredictably. And another is they almost always last longer than anybody expected. Longer than most people expected. They take all kinds of strange twists and turns. Wars just never go as planned, right? And they grow unpredictably, and they almost always last longer than anybody expected.
100% agree with that. And that's kind of one of the interesting things that I heard an old Afghan quote once, and it explained so much to me. The quote was along the lines of, "You Westerners, you fight war watching the clock."
You have watches, we have time.
Yeah, exactly. They don't measure time, so they don't care if they're at war for 10 years or 100 years or 1,000 years. They're at war until their war is over. We're the ones that go, "Oh, we lost this many this year. We took out that many." People are getting tired of this. People get, they watch the clock and they get more tired of the conflicts. And that isn't the culture that we're up against. And they are more than content to play the long game, invade
Yeah.
us, wait us out, get them, the population density where it's effective for them to do exactly as we're seeing them do right now. To me, I'm have no other way to describe it than the beginning of the crusades all over again, but this time it's not going to be pushing them from Normandy back to the Middle East. They've got the high ground on us here right now, at least in Canada.
They do. War is just what some of them do. Like the Afghans are very good at Pashtun in particular. They're very, very good at war, and Baluch people as well, and Tajiks, Uzbeks. They all are quite good at it. Hazar people, they all are quite good at it. And again, they do it at their own pace. They'll just do it intergenerationally, right?
Yeah, 100%. They're generally, then that's a key point. They're generally generationally committed to it, and Canada, people in Canada are so soft. We've been good at being accessories in other conflicts through our short history as a nation. Canadians typically used to make good soldiers, but we are the softest, as a population, we are the softest underbelly that they could ever hope to conquer. And they waged wars amongst themselves that lasted longer than it's taking them to conquer us.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, intergenerationally, they look at their women's wombs as basically weapon systems.
Soldier
And they're,
factories.
yeah, I mean, that's soldier factories. And so, I mean, they look at it just very, very differently than we do. And it's now or never. I mean, it's just, there's no way around it.
So with that now or never, what to the people, there's a lot of people here that are they just don't know what to do, and not everybody is a combatant. I don't want everybody to be a combatant. Hell, I wish I was wrong on all of this, and nobody was going to have to be a combatant. Um, but before getting into that, what can people do? Do you think that there's any hope to oppose any of this and to turn the tide on this before we're all forced to be combatants, willing or not?
Well, it has to be done at a fundamental level. I mean, you have to pick your route. I mean, it's basically fight, flee, or freeze. If you freeze, you're going to lose.
Right.
If you flee, I don't know where you're going to go to. Most people can't flee. So if you do nothing, you're just going to lose. Period. So
Right.
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Sue them in court? I mean, seriously. I mean, you've got to stop people from coming in, for starters, and you have to have a new government. I mean, the bottom line is Trudeau he's a condom for the globalist. I mean, he's not the prime minister. He's just a condom. He's nothing. He's a toy. And
Meat
as soon as
Muppet.
he's done, he'll be thrown out. Right.
I call them meat Muppets. They're
Yeah.
and the what the world should know is that the projected incoming replacement has signed on to the same international treaties. He's just as beholden to invade Canada at the behest of the United Nations and the World Economic Forum and their migration compacts. The guy that's supposed to bring the change in Canada has the exact same to-do list as Trudeau. So if that's the case, and we don't, wrap this guy's feet in fire to make change before he gets office, I think Canada is officially going to be lost under this guy too. There's no difference in party. They all serve, they all serve policy that's crafted elsewhere. It's not even about serving the people. They serve policy that's crafted in faraway lands.
That's right. Organizational structure dictates outcome, and the government of Canada is not even in Canada. Likewise in the United States.
100%. Michael, thank you so much for this. This was a real. As much as I can take pleasure in having a conversation like this is as close as I can get. So I want to thank you so very much for your time in joining us and corroborating some of my worst fears. I know some of our community is going to have the liver scared out of them a little bit, but we're not in a warm fuzzy blanket and cocoa sipping kind of entertainment zone here these
We're
days,
way
and I think
beyond
it's
that.
going to get worse. Yeah, yeah, we're way beyond. So, last message for folks up here in Canada. You think that they should hear? We can tell them, Michael.
All of our families have been in wars. All of them. All of them have been in pandemics, and all of them have been in famines. Right. And this is it. It's our turn. Period. There's no way out of it and stay alive. If you're gonna live, you're about to see war. It's clearly kicking off. We're already in it. It's just mostly non-kinetic at this phase, but it's clearly coming, and it's clearly a war for. It's not just going to. It's going to absolutely already has fundamentally changed the West and Japan, and I see Thailand as well. Thailand's a little bit more resistant to it, but Thailand, I can see it here as well.
Well, I was fortunate enough to interview a fellow named Rich Higgins before he passed away, and so the concept of unrestricted warfare is pretty familiar to our community, and
Mhm.
here. And as much as I say, we don't, none of us wants to be right in this space. We're doing this because it's necessary, not because we enjoy it so much. So
Right.
um, very much appreciate your time, Michael, and anytime you want to come back, I'd be more than happy to carry on this conversation. We are just skimming over the top of the lily pads in the swamp with all of this, but definitely appreciate your time. Keep doing what you're doing. Thank you for your continued service, not just to your country, but at this point, I think we're fighting for humanity. So
Oh, it's beyond our borders at this point. I
yeah,
really appreciate your having me on. And everybody have a good night wherever you're at, whatever country you're in. I'll be back in America soon.
amen. Stay blessed.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, guys. That was that was the first time I've watched that. We taped that on Monday morning, early, bright and early. So some things have happened throughout the world and Canada and the U.S. since then, but um, not enough to change the value of the things that he had to share with us from a very different lens than we typically get to hear from. Michael's story is long and it's an unbelievable story. His life experience. He's older than he looks, and not there. There's a lot of controversial, contentious stuff that we talked about. This is probably going to get me deplatformed on a few more platforms, but the essence of the messages that he was delivering are as much as I didn't want corroboration. This is basically, I think, a lot of where we're at, and we need to uh, get our poop in a group and find some things to work on, some plausible things, and be a little bit more open-minded to people that are maybe going the same direction but not on the same trail. We have to find some things to build upon. And we're going to keep working towards that. So, I mean, I have my faiths, as everybody knows, but it's time to get a little bit more real about some things. The rail strike seems imminent. I fully believe this is another step in the manufactured destabilization of things meant to hurt us. We've now had officially threats against churches across the country. The people, the high testosterone people, I'll run with that little analogy to describe them because anything else that I use that's more accurate is going to be deemed hate speech. And it's unfortunate that we can't be open and free with our language. And I thank you guys for all for being here, but we also have to at this point be cognizant of what we even put in the chats. That's enough to get my platforms shut down and me charged at this point, because the uh the emotional level that people are going to be getting to as things devolve in a lot of these situations is going to make people really angry, and really going to be people are really going to want to lash out. And I'm not telling people they can't feel these feelings, because they have every right and reason to, but we have to we have to be so careful right now with what we do. And so make sure you get plugged in on Substack for sure at this point. Um, Link down below. This will be out there tomorrow on Substack. Yesterday's last night's show, guys. If you tuned in, that was just the beginning. So it's already generating some really interesting discussion and cause of purpose, shall we say. It's time for the people that we talked about last night to become far more uncomfortable in the role that they play, the dark, nasty, dirty way that they play on behalf of the liberal government and coalition, or whatever, the Gestapo, the Stasi, the WEF, Fourth Reich, whatever you want to call them. They are the illegitimate henchmen. And so we got into that pretty deep last night. There's going to be more coming on that. You're going to see other outlets coming on that. And I think I'm going to get a chance to have the Blacklocks, the folks from Blacklocks on. So I reached out, and that's going to be happening. So stay tuned for that. I'll let you guys know when and if that we get that one arranged. Tomorrow is going to be, who knows what it's going to be in clown world. Everything is going on. There's some crazy stuff going on around the rest of the world. We haven't had a chance to touch on much of that over the last couple of days, because we've been very doing some important work, some foundational work. Good question there. Thank you for asking, Goko. My main, oh, no, that wasn't, this is the one I went to pull up. My main website is whatsupcanada.org. That's the best place. whatsupcanada.org. I think I've probably got a banner here somewhere for that. But yeah, pretty much everything is What's Up Canada. You can get plugged in there. LGM.news is the other one. LGM stands for Looking Glass Media.news. So yeah, go forth bravely, stay mighty, my friends and family and patriots everywhere. Things are going to get yeah, if you like clowns, expect a circus. There you go. Thanks for typing that in there. Old Sauce. It gives me a way to pull it up on the screen for everybody. Just going through a couple of thanks for the likes and the shares, guys. This is how we get this out there further, get people more in at least people can get it raw and real still here from people that are a little bit closer to the source. If you guys saw the what Grok said about us last night was pretty phenomenal. We're earning the the reputation of being a community, not just an audience. Is getting out there further. It's unfortunate that we have to go through so many struggles to keep this going, but hey, it is what it is. Adapt, improvise, and overcome, and we continue to do that, getting better and stronger and more secure with everything that we do, with every evolution. So yeah, support the guys that are in the trenches, taking the licks, and continue to being brave. Michael Yon there, super dude. I'll pull, controversial that he might be. He is still speaks freely from his heart. I'll pull up his YouTube, or pardon me, X platform again. Uh, Michael AEL underscore Yon YON. Things I try to be I try to be as forthcoming with the truth without being negative. You can't fix what we don't see coming. I hate seeing people getting blindsided and abused, getting their time, energy, and effort wasted, because that's incredibly demoralizing, far more demoralizing than anything else. So try to keep it on the straight and narrow, let people make their own decisions, but have thought provoking, provocative conversation. I'm going to borrow that from Grok too. That's what they recommended, or what was in their review. Uh, Pretty cool. I should actually pin that somewhere, because that's the best review I've ever gotten. Kind of embarrassing that I get it from X's AI. So I do love you guys all from the bottom of my heart. I do this with you guys. Um, go through as much as I can for you guys. Find the people that I think have relevant conversation and can be thought provoking, and stir up discussion. And sometimes we can get to some solution, but right now the real news isn't warm and fuzzy. No sunshine and lollipops. There's not many unicorns out there. That's cocoa and fuzzy blankets isn't really the time for that. We've had that for generations. Unfortunately, we're going to get left with the heavy lifting for what's going to be coming. But that, we talk about that often. uh, 100 the localism is 100% safe and effective cure for globalism. For those of you guys that are getting plugged into the Patriot Switch, that is a part of that. You can find that on the website as well, whatsupcanada.org. Um, those are the kinds of things that, when the insanity starts to pile up and pick up speed, which it will, those are the kinds of preemptive measures that you can take right now that will solve problems. For example, when the rail lines go down, guys, Patriot Switch is going to be a solution for a lot of that. So as think of I like to think of these more as briefings as we go forward into doing whatever part of the battlefield that we're fighting in, or moving forward in, bringing our troops together. And this information war right now, nothing static here yet. But when we see the level of escalation with terror threats, that's going to be coming. And I don't want to waste your time. I want time either. I want you all to be as prepared as I can make you within the confines of what they have me handcuffed to on these platforms, and they make it increasingly more difficult. So this is we're all in on this together, and if we don't get that part figured out, we're all going to end up in the same hell together. And I'm not going to be a very good convert. I just won't. So I'd rather do it now before they pick us all off. So on that note, tomorrow maybe I'll be able to find some good news, because this week has been kind of rough, kind of dark. But so much of the hypotheses confirmed. Michael will be back at a further point. I think we might be able to get John directly from Russia, our friend who hasn't been around for a while. Uh, but yeah, lots going on. Get plugged into community. You're not just an audience here. That's the biggest thing I want you guys to I tell people all the time. Maybe I should tell you guys this a little more often, is that I'm not here to build an audience. I have no aspirations of being a rock star. That's what rock stars do. They build audiences. I want to empower people to build communities, to reinforce their communities. Why? Because we need a renaissance, not a revolution. And we need real people doing real things wherever they're at with whatever they've got right now. And keep that getting plugged in to alternative methodologies and thinking for everything. So, on that note, that's going to be a wrap for me tonight, folks. I love you all. As I said before, stay mighty, my friends, family, patriots, and hostages. And we will see you again tomorrow. So I'm going to play you out with my friends at Patriot Switch. A little promo for these guys. Support your favorite journalist. If this is your favorite journalist, there's all kinds of ways to do that. You can find that on the website too. So I love you all. We'll see you tomorrow.